Music is as much a part of the atmosphere in the Caribbean as the warm sun and ocean breezes. Festive and easy to dance to, the Caribbean beat is recognized around the world. Of course, there are as many different styles of music here as there are islands. Travel to Puerto Rico, for example, and you'll hear the heavy rhythm of the bomba drums. Enslaved Africans were shipped here beginning in the 1500s. They brought with them a folk dance dominated by drums and call and response vocals, in which the leader sings a line and the group answers. Bomba is the purest form of that tradition surviving today. The basic steps are fairly simple, but in practice the dance becomes a spirited art form. In fact, bomba is more than a dance. It's an ever-changing conversation. Drummers sit in a line playing two different types of drums. The larger drum, called the boleador, keeps the beat. The smaller drum, called the subidor, changes rhythm and responds to the movements of dancers, both trying to mimic and encourage the dancers. The music that finally develops depends on the mood of the drummers and dancers. The Dominican Republic, on the island of Hispaniola, is the birthplace of another popular Latin dance, merengue. Once considered music of the common people, merengue has become a vital part of the Dominican Republic's cultural identity. There's even a national merengue festival held every July. More than 10 days of singing and dancing in the streets. The festival draws people from around the world, including the well-known merengue singer, Sergio Vargas, who grew up here. Like almost all modern Caribbean music, merengue combines elements from both African and Western traditions.
I guess that mixture of things, you know, is what makes the merengue. It's basically an African rhythm, you know, but then it has the melody and the music from Spanish songs.
It was a dictator named Rafael Trujillo who came from peasant roots, who adopted the dance as a national symbol. Today, the merengue is distinguished by the use of three signature instruments: the tambora, the saxophone, and the accordion. The tambora is a two-headed drum, laid across the lap and played with a stick in the right hand and an empty left hand. During a song, the tambora sets the rhythm and the saxophone and accordion respond. This combination of beats gives the merengue its characteristic drive that some have called the pulse of the nation. The Caribbean's largest country, Cuba, has produced artists of immense talent, some of whom have only recently been discovered. One of those is Israel Lopez, also known as Cachao. Cachao, a great musician even as a child, played bass with the Havana Philharmonic Orchestra at the age of 12. Along with his gift for performing, Cachao had the genius of an inventor.
I was in the bathroom and I heard this dripping noise. I wrote it down. I can get a melody out of that. I can come up with a melody out of any note.
In the 1930s, Cachao and his brother, Orestes, decided to inject some life into the slow, European-inspired ballroom dancing popular at the time. They sped it up and jazzed it up, and the result was called mambo.
It was a new thing, and that's why it took people by surprise. That's why we were out of work for 6 months, because people didn't understand it. We were ahead of our time, my brother and I.
By the 1940s and 50s, mambo had become a sensation. The upbeat rhythms and dance steps made it popular around the world. Like American jazz, mambo relies heavily on improvisation, making it up as you go along. While often played by an orchestra, The main instruments are usually the flute and the piano. One of the musical styles most often identified with the Caribbean today is calypso. This is in large part because calypso has become so closely associated with the Caribbean's most distinctive musical instrument, the steel drum. The steel drum, or steel pan, is one of the newest musical instruments in the world, invented in the 1930s at the earliest. Stories of its origins vary, but they all begin in Trinidad. In the best-known story, some local percussionists discovered they could get an unusual sound out of empty oil drums discarded by Navy bases on the island. They pounded and shaped the steel containers, creating different sounds from different shapes. Steel drums, with their distinct sound, have become a symbol for not only Trinidad, but also for the rest of the Caribbean.